welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Jo Stanley, alongside my dear friend Luke Darcy,
Hey,
Jacqui Felgate and Dr. Nick Carr. And namaste, everybody, because today is International Yoga Day.
It is June 21, which is, of course, the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, but it's our winter solstice and our shortest day.
So a little less daylight in which to do the downward dog, Jack?
Yes.
Nick, it's also Global MND Day, and the race is on to find a cure for motor neuron disease. Immediately think of the legendary Neil Danaher, Jack, who 10 years ago started a campaign to fight the beast, as he calls it. He's raised nearly $100 million to find a cure for motor neuron disease, and truly one of the most inspirational people that I've ever met.
Yeah, which is why the blue cornflower is the symbol of hope for MND, because of its fragile yet really hardy nature. And Neil's certainly hardy. I'm not sure you called him fragile.
He's the opposite of fragile, Nick. He's one of the toughest of all time.
Yeah. Well, from supporting great causes to one of our great loves, and that's food. Did you know that we spend 4 years of our lives eating?
I can do one better than that. By the time a person turns 80, you've eaten 90,000 meals.
Oh, wow.
That is a lot of deciding what to have for dinner.
That is a big stat. And on today's show, Australia's top science agency shows us some simple ways to fight obesity.
We log on to the online community, helping shoppers choose healthier options at the supermarket.
Don't worry about your cappuccinos or your lattes. The new hipster brew is coffee cocktails served cold.
Well, almond extra hot latte for me is the go, Jack, which is a plant-based milk, and plant-based eating has become a seriously big thing. The ability to grow meat from nothing is a real trend. And Dr. Isabel Carr, your daughter, Nick, she's seen that science is taking it one step further, and that is growing meat in a lab.
For a long time, Australia has been a nation of carnivores. But over the past decade, growing concerns around the environmental and ethical consequences of meat production have started to feed into our diets.
Whether you like it or not, the way that we eat as people is not sustainable, so we have to think of a better option.
Today, 2 in 5 Australians say they're actively trying to reduce their meat consumption, motivating top vegan chefs like Shannon Martinez to keep raising the bar for plant-based meat alternatives.
It's got that beautiful smokiness, really good texture when you bite into it. Just a really full flavour as well. It's delicious.
But at the Magic Valley Lab in inner city Melbourne, a team of food scientists led by CEO Paul Bevan are cooking up a product that could completely change the culinary conversation.
So, Paul, what are cultivated meats?
Cultivated meat is a real meat product that we grow up in the lab from a small skin sample from a living animal.
So you're telling me that I could be eating a piece of beef and the cow it came from is still alive?
It's exactly right. So cultivated meat is created when we take a small sample of cells from a living animal that goes on continuing to live its normal natural life. We take those cells into the lab, turn them into stem cells, grow them up into muscle and fat and create a real meat product. No animal slaughter involved.
And nutritionally speaking, the sort of the end product, is that exactly the same as, say, a real piece of lamb?
It's probably better, to be honest. Molecularly, the cells are identical, so the muscle and fat, etc. But because we're doing it in a controlled environment, we've got the ability to tailor the nutritional profile. So that means we can add additional protein content, omega-3s, etc., vitamins, minerals, and also reduce the saturated fat content. So we think overall the health profile should be even better than traditionally farmed products.
It sounds like the stuff of science fiction, but in fact, the first cultivated beef patty was developed over a decade ago in the Netherlands for a production cost of about $325,000. Since then, over 150 companies worldwide have joined the race to bring affordable, lab-grown meat to supermarket shelves.
At the moment, we're still at small scale. What we've completed so far is a minced lamb and a minced pork product. So those minced meat products at the moment would probably cost us around $42 to $44 a kilo to produce, which is probably roughly double what the cost of a premium minced lamb product would cost from traditional methods. Once we're at scale, though, and up and running with larger facilities and can take advantage of economies of scale, we think we'll be able to get that price down to around $6 a kilo, which would obviously be far cheaper than current prices for traditionally farmed mince.
Whilst it remains to be seen just how eager the public will be to try this mould-breaking mincemeat, alternative protein advocate Dr. Simon Esom believes these products could one day play a major role in tackling food insecurity.
Food production and food systems are about technology. and using technology to increase yield, to provide more and more food and to provide more and more nutrition to a growing population. Now, we're at the point with animal agriculture that there's a limit to how much further we can go. And yet we don't have the land, we don't have the water resources, and we have all sorts of problems around potential zoonotic diseases and so on. So we're at the limit of what animal agriculture can do. As an alternative, cultivated meat is taking our science and knowledge and understanding with technology to create exactly the same product, but without all of those downsides and negative effects of our traditional animal agriculture. It's in very early stages, but the technology's been proven, and we've had two very, very stringent food regulation authorities, one most recently in the US, that have said these foods are safe. So if we can actually begin to scale these to the size we need, then this is a very viable alternative.
Magic Valley are hoping to see their mince products approved for sale in Australia as soon as next year. But for now, Paul is giving me a taste of the future in the form of a cultivated pork dumpling.
It's totally delicious. It tastes just like real meat. I guess that's because it is real meat.
Absolutely, yeah, that's exactly how it's meant to taste.
I mean, it has the same texture to it. It's got the same flavour as well. And then I can't quite get my head around the fact that the animal that made this is sort of still out there, probably having a nice day. But it's a really, really good product.
What would you like to see in the future? So you've conquered sort of pork and lamb. Do we have a T-bone steak in the horizon?
Yeah, so we would call that a structured product, which is probably, a little way down the track for us. After we've completed what we're working on in terms of lamb and pork, we'll be looking at beef next. Ideally, we'll look at all farmed animal species as well as aquatic species eventually as well.
There are obvious benefits to this, but do you think it's going to take a while for the public to get their heads around the idea?
Yeah, I think as with any new product or technology, there will be some resistance initially. A lot of people don't like change, but I think over the long run, particularly with a huge amount of consumer education around the process, we think there'll be a large uptake further down the track.
Well, from what we eat to how we eat it. I'm talking about meal sequencing, which is basically eating certain foods in a certain order. So you start with your vegetables, then you have your proteins and fats in the middle, and then you go on to carbs. And some say it's a good way to lose weight.
Yeah, because the theory is that saving the carbs to last will kind of reduce that glucose spike, which might be great for people with type 2 diabetes. For everybody else, I'm not quite so sure. but at the end of the day, it gets you eating more veggies and healthy fats and proteins. So it's got to be a good start.
Nick, we have spoken about dozens and dozens of diets over the journey on the House of Wellness, but the one that seems to get the most consistent results is the CSIRO's wellbeing diet, which has helped Australians remove the equivalent of 46 double-decker buses of weight.
Wow.
That's a lot of weight over the last 10 years.
It is amazing, but with 2/3 of Australians either overweight or obese, the agency says more needs to be done. And when it comes to choosing a diet, the expert advice is go slow and steady.
The rise of supermarkets after World War II was probably the beginning of a change of our diets. But, even when I was growing up in the 1970s, most cooking would have been at home with freshly purchased products, and the meal was made in the kitchen. That has changed significantly over the last 30, 40 years. And even in the last 10 or 15 years, we've gone from processed food to even more processed food and ultra-processed food. And that's not good for our bodies, not metabolically and not for overweight and obesity.
The stats on weight gain in this country are alarming. 2/3 of the adult population is overweight or obese.
There's really no question that overweight and obesity is a big issue in Australia. At the same time, not everyone who's overweight or a bit overweight has problems. You could be healthier, in fact, and carry a little bit of weight. If you're exercising, if your metabolic status is pretty good, you can carry a few more kilos. But the combination of having overweight and obesity at the same time as not doing enough exercise and having long periods of sitting down, they are combined risk factors for those things like stroke and heart attack.
Losing weight is never as easy as it sounds. A minefield of misinformation and countless fad diets often results in failed attempts to drop those extra kilos.
I do think it's a pretty tricky landscape in the weight loss space. There are lots and lots of diets that flash out in front of you and obviously pretty aggressive promotion. They're all trying to make a buck, or influencers and others who are trying to get fame and followers from what they're promoting. If it looks too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. And there are some that work because you lose weight quickly, but they are not sustainable.
Developed by the CSIRO, the Total Wellbeing Diet is a scientifically tested and nutritionally balanced diet that's designed to help lose weight and keep it off.
It's based on the best evidence around what foods are good for you, both in terms of maintaining a healthy weight, but also in terms of what that metabolic picture looks like. And so lower cholesterol, lower sugar, and less risk of diabetes and heart disease are all incorporated in the dietary recommendations of CSIRO's Total Wellbeing Diet. The individuals who choose it and who actually complete a 12-week program, they are well on track to lose weight and keep it off at about 8% reduction from where they started at 1 year. The CSIRO evidence is that if you engage in the program and if you're really properly using the tools that are there to support you, you'll lose weight and you'll keep it off.
Already, over 1.2 million Aussies have been impacted by not just another diet, but a long-term eating plan that's changing lives.
Living a healthy life in your 50s, 60s and 70s is really about the way that you are able to eat and live well in your 30s, 40s and 50s. So I think that's a really useful reflection to have with a diet that you can sustain over the long term.
You know, Das, we talk a lot about the negative impacts of too much screen time, but when technology is used for good, it can be amazing. And there are some incredible apps out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been vocal about the perils of the online world, but as you said, there's some really good things as well. There's an app that's getting a lot of traction overseas called the Library of Things, which encourages people to share things like your ski gear or party decorations, stuff that clutters up our garage and could be taken advantage by other people. I love that one.
I love this so much. It's just like borrowing a library book, except you're borrowing, say, a paper shredder or a printer or power tools or even a kite. I mean, it's such a great idea.
And I love, Joe, things like I look at my 19-year-old daughter, Sienna, where they rent and share dresses rather than having the expense of going to a ball and having to buy an expensive dress. There's some positive things out there.
You know, I moved house last year, Das, and I had to get rid of so much stuff that was just gathering dust. And I swore to myself, I made a commitment, I would not buy those things again.
How's that going?
Well, you know, the individual use pops up and you think, oh, I better go and think. It's just a waste of money. It's a waste of resources. This app, it's so brilliant for pooling your resources. I love it. Well, that's a great app. And how about an app that helps us make healthy food choices?
Well, I've always loved food, but yes, my career was in magazine advertising, spent 20 years in that space, and then I became a mum. And as any new mum does, you become aware of everything that you're sort of picking up and putting in your trolley. And I took more time to slow down and read ingredient lists. And I was really surprised of some of the things I saw. And so it just happened naturally that this ended up turning into Supermarket Swap, because I started finding products that I wanted to share with other people. And within a few months, people were telling me they were shopping with the Instagram page. They were taking my Instagram page into the store, opening up these swaps, and I thought I could do one better. Why don't I create an app? And so, yeah, I jumped into the world of tech.
So there are so many amazing swaps on your app, but what are some of these swaps that have actually surprised you?
So things like tinned tomatoes, I thought it would just be diced tomatoes and that's it, but you can have additives in there. Yogurt, it was surprising to see what was added to some of our yogurts. You think you're buying a strawberry yogurt, but it doesn't actually contain any strawberries. It can have an artificial food colour, an artificial food flavour that creates that strawberry. So things like that were a real surprise. Even a plain cracker, sometimes you think it's sea salt and that's all it is, but it's not. It's got a lot of flavour enhancers and things that are added to the food. If you can make some organic swaps, that's obviously a great thing, but you don't have everything organic. Start small, and buying organic produce that's in season, it's probably going to be the best cost-effective way to introduce some organic produce into your diet.
Now, obviously, in an ideal world, we want to be making everything from scratch, but that's not always the case.
It's not. People are busy, and it's great to know that there's still a good option on the supermarket shelf already done for you.
So what should we be actually looking for in a passata sauce or tomato sauce?
So simply read the ingredient list and make sure that you recognise everything that's in there.
All right, well, let's take this one as well. And do you have a sort of a favourite sort of swap that you always find works really well for you in your household?
I have so many.
Right, tell me more, tell me more.
There's so many swaps I love. Looking at some of the home brand products that supermarkets make, for example, sun-dried tomatoes. You know, they're traditionally quite expensive, $29 or say per 100 grams. The home brand version is $9 per 100 grams, and there's nothing artificial. It has no preservatives. There's nothing in there at all that is you know, questionable. So some of those swaps are my favourites, but then also swapping like flavoured yogurts to just a Greek yogurt and adding my own fruit and flavourings at home. I feel like that's a really cost-effective and flavoursome. Like adding your own berries or your own honey always makes it taste better.
So we've got this amazing range of imperfect fruits and vegetables. How can we add more of this into our diet?
This is a great way to get those extra nutrients into your diet and not spend more. There's nothing wrong with any of this produce. It's nutrient-packed. It might just have a blemish. Don't judge how it looks, judge how it tastes.
So we really shouldn't judge the book by its cover.
Absolutely.
Now, when it comes to cost, what's some good cost-saving tips? Because we all need the cost-saving tips.
Oh, it's so important with cost these days because prices have increased. And the best way is when you're comparing a price, cost per 100 grams. So most labels would tell you $5 versus $4, but what it says per 100 grams shows you the real value for the product, how much product you're actually receiving as well. So sometimes it might be $5, but you're getting double the amount. So comparing cost per 100 grams is a great way to save.
Well, I really like that, Jack. It's much easier to read the ingredients in the products that we consume.
Does, I agree. And, you know, a lot of the time they've only got a number or a really long, complicated name. It doesn't make sense. And you know what else doesn't make sense? Single-use plastic sachets. You know, the kind that you get your tomato sauce or your soy sauce in? Well, they end up in our oceans and they're bobbing around as little bits of plastic.
You know what, Jack? I'm a bit of a sucker for a potato chip, but not so much the plastic 4 bags they come in. A UK-based snack company, they say they've developed the first fully biodegradable chip packet, which is paper-based and not plastic-coated.
And speaking of paper-based, nowadays you see a number of chocolate bars are actually made and wrapped in the biodegradable paper rather than the old-fashioned plastic. And it's about to happen as well, too, with coffee pods, which is a great thing.
Great news for coffee lovers like me. It's not so much about the long black or the flat white these days. Baristas are literally becoming more like bartenders, serving up their variety of coffee cocktails.
I feel like St. Ali are really forging the way when it comes to the trend. Can you run me through some of the flavours that you do here?
Look, I mean, we've taken inspirations from things like a Lamington, for example. So Lamington's, you know, obviously an Australian icon when it comes to, you know, a cake, and we sort of took elements of that to sort of make it into a liquid form, I guess. I think it's just like taking inspiration from the season, from meals, and sort of trying to bring that into the dish.
Here we go.
After you.
Thank you. So the top is the banana curd.
Yep.
And then underneath, vanilla ice cream, chocolate sprinkles and the espresso. Delicious. I'm imagining myself running for my morning train whilst grabbing one of these to go. What's the feedback for especially people who have never tried them before?
I mean, they love it. I mean, I think it's not what you expect from a cafe experience, or at least a standard cafe experience. So, you know, when you're putting so much effort into the food and the fit out and everything else, I think it's almost lazy in 2024 to not be trying new things in terms of coffee too.
Are these also to go? Like, how am I taking this away?
We've actually designed a special custom takeaway cup with these drinks in mind. So slightly smaller than the average takeaway ice cup, but semi-opaque so you can see through it, and nice and neat and Instagram ready.
Are they a drink or a dessert?
Good question. Probably a bit of both, I reckon. They are quite decadent, and it's probably not something I'd personally drink every day, but hey, there's people that are doing it.
That that is different. I tell you what's bizarre is having citrus with coffee, even though there's hints of citrus in coffee.
It somehow works though, right?
Yeah, it takes it even further. And then
the next generation of coffee drinkers is very different to what's come before. Whereas you or I might have a hot coffee as we wake up in the morning before we go to the gym or something. The younger generation are all about cold coffee. Morning, noon and night, they're drinking it cold. And we started to see that happening in our stores and made us think, geez, what's going on here? Like, we've always crafted our menus around hot this, hot that, cappuccino this, cappuccino that. But all of a sudden, it's people wanting iced everything.
Okay, so I've heard with this one, we try the chocolate on its own first.
Yeah.
That is
How's the texture on that?
thick, velvety.
Now wait till you mix it in. It's a different experience again.
I kind of want to just spoon that off, but I'm gonna follow the instructions. Okay, so this is the chocolate and espresso combo.
Yeah.
Going into coconut water.
So this should change the texture altogether.
It is, and that's messing with my head that it's coconut water. Wow. Exceeded expectations.
Good.
Not gonna lie, at first I didn't think it would work.
New favourite?
New favourite.
Nice.
Definitely, because it's lighter.
Yeah.
Do they all contain caffeine? Because we're seeing a trend where people are mindful about how much coffee they have after a certain time of day. And if they don't have caffeine, what do they have?
Look, most of them contain caffeine. We're a coffee business, so selfishly, most of the drinks are going to contain coffee in some form. There are options where you can have decaf of some of these beverages, but for the most part, because of the way the elements come together, you're going to be getting a caffeine hit.
Ah, thank you.
Last of the four, no coffee to be seen.
Well, I was a bit worried I'm not going to sleep tonight, so this works.
There is a little bit of caffeine in matcha though, so beware, but no, very different to the drinks that came before. Zesty, fresh, citrus.
And I will be honest, I haven't up until this point loved matcha either.
It's had a resurgence lately. It popped up into trends, a few years back, and it's sort of come back with vengeance. So
Can you turn me into a matcha fan?
We'll see.
Yes, you can.
Nice.
That's great.
It refreshes the palate after the last three desserts that you've endured so far.
It goes with the outfit.
That's right.
The yuzu is amazing. I love how tart that is. It's so citrusy.
Well, Joe, here's a little health fact that's intriguing me at the moment. I understood that once you had your adult shoe size, that was it for life, but maybe not the case.
Doesn't one of your sons have enormous feet?
They all do, Joe. It's ridiculous. Even my daughter, Sienna, I think, wears shoes about my size. Sam's a size 16, and the younger boys, Will and Max, they're already at 17 and 13 wearing bigger shoes. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, let's hope they don't get any bigger once they're adults. So here's some facts for you. Women during pregnancy, their feet grow bigger. And I tell you what, sometimes that's permanent. I had to say goodbye to my designer heels after I had my daughter, which, well, I did get a baby out of it. I mean, it was a bit of a big cost, but
50-50 decision, that one, Joe, when you think about it. Well, a century ago, the average male shoe size was a 6.5, and for women, a tiny 4.5.
Well, but our modern day Bigfoot is due to two things. One, that we're taller, which is because of our wonderful childhood nutrition. And the other, on the flip side, is obesity rates mean that our feet have had to grow bigger to keep up.
I tell you someone, Joe, who has got fast feet, and that is Mia Gross, the 23-year-old sprinter, recently won silver at the Australian Athletics Championship, and she caught up with our own Abby Holmes.
Guys, it is race week. Ooh. Olympic year, pretty cool.
Mia Gross, great to meet you.
Great to meet you too. There is so many races that I'll be going to. I'm practically racing every single week.
It was your first Australian final for the 200 metres. How did you feel out there?
I felt very excited.
Yeah.
Like, it's not every day that you can just waltz into a national final, so I was pretty excited. Obviously a long time coming. Like, I've been racing at nationals since I was in grade 5.
Mia Gross has had a great season so far. Fantastic junior. Just had to battle some injuries and he's coming back and finding form.
I've just been kind of like focusing on the 100s for the last 3 or 4 years, so it's kind of nice to move out into some 2s. Got long legs, you know. It takes me a while to kind of get moving.
Away, got a good start, Lewis. Day got out really well, so Lewis almost gets up to Gross at 150.
It was a bit of I saw Tori and like she just came up past me and the straight, and then I was like, just try and go with her.
Lewis about 3 metres in front, Gross having a good run. Lewis gets another national championship, Gross second.
Yeah, got myself a little silver, so can't complain.
So good to watch you in action. You're certainly a star on the rise, but talk to us about how you first got into it. As you said, you've been racing now for a very long time, but you tried your hand at every sport as a kid growing up.
I tried literally everything and I loved everything too. Like I wasn't horrible at any sports either. Like I can catch a ball, I can kick a ball. Like my hand-eye coordination is actually pretty decent, so I was like, I'll do that. And then I made my first Australian team when I was 15, so I was like, I'll just give track and field a go, and then I just was like, just loved it.
You're only 22, about to turn 23. Yeah. You've had a lot of injuries and very strange injuries along the journey. How have you kind of dealt with it as a young athlete?
Yeah, look, I've had more injuries than probably like one person would have for their whole entire lifetime. Like I've had more injuries than my dad, who's like over 50. So I've spent a lot of time in the hospital as well. So just random sicknesses and illnesses and stuff as well. So I think I'm a very positive person and like to see the glass half full. So I think that really kind of helps me, you know, be able to just get back out on the track and enjoy it. So I just try to, you know, enjoy my time and enjoy my friends and my family that are around me as well.
And then on the inside, Gross has had a good run, 3 from the right. So into the straight, Howes leads, Gross. And
what's that taught you though, and the resilience that you've had to build over the last few years?
It's taught me a lot. I don't get bothered by a lot of things that would bother some other people, like, oh, I've got a sore toe, that's nothing. You know, it could be a lot worse, and obviously like people are going through so much worse than what I've been through or what anybody's been through. Like just puts so much into perspective. Like whatever I'm thinking, there's someone that's going through so much worse.
Good morning everyone. Today we are going to Canberra, so I'm making some baguettes. I'm gonna chuck some like steak and stuff in there because I'm one for a sandwich.
So you love your food, that is very clear.
Yeah.
What does your diet look like? Is it quite open-ended, or are you really strict when it comes to competition?
Yeah, well, usually when it like comes to competition, like I try and dial in a lot more, but it's very like lots of protein, like so much protein. Like obviously you got just some carbs and healthy fats in there because that's, you know, that keeps you alive and healthy. But it's pretty, everything is good in moderation.
We're in Tokyo.
You've embraced the world of social media. You're now vlogging and hitting the YouTube space. What made you want to, I guess, document your experiences and share it with others?
Yeah, so I started my YouTube at the end of last year. Guys, I won! It's huge in America, like so huge. And I was like, no track athletes do it here. So I was like, I might just try it out. And hopefully it kind of like helps to build track and field in, you know, Australia as well. Because like, you know, track and field is pretty awesome, but I feel like Australia doesn't see that as how awesome it actually is.
You think it's gonna be so easy, man. You just think it's gonna be so easy, but it's so hard to run fast. My hamstrings are literally on fire.
And yes, this is all self-funded.
Sometimes in social media, it's all just like a highlight reel, and I want to be able to see like, you know, I'm not amazing right now. And like, I feel like it would have been cool, like just to see as like a young person, like if I can help someone as well, like along their journey, then that would be pretty cool. Like the amount of people that I've gotten messages from, like, oh, you helped me like eat before I race or something like that.
You're an inspiration, you're a star on the rise, and we're excited to see where you can go.
Thank you so much.
Until next time, my loves, have a beautiful day. Love you all. Bye.
Skin concerns like eczema can be uncomfortable, persistent, and frustrating. No one knows that better than I do, with my husband Jeff being a long-term sufferer of the condition, and me honestly just wishing I could do something to help him. When our son Ryan also developed eczema as a baby, we knew we needed to create a natural alternative to the typical steroids and cortisone treatments. And that's how Grams Natural was born 23 years ago. With a product designed specifically for eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, rosacea, and baby eczema, Grams Natural contains clinically tested, effective, natural ingredients. The formulation includes Manuka honey for helping to control bacteria, plus calendula and gotcha cola to assist with reducing inflammation and itch. Heroing the range is the product we first developed for Ryan, the C+ Eczema and Dermatitis Cream. It aims to calm the skin by helping to provide hydration as well as supporting a protective skin barrier. We've also introduced 2 new products, the KP Smoothing Cream and the Face and Eyelid Eczema Cream. The entire range is steroid-free, so it's safe for long-term use. Despite first creating these natural skincare solutions for our own family, we are proud to say that today they help many other families globally, because everyone should feel comfortable in their own skin.
Well, Jo, we all know that stress and raging is not good for the heart, and it is, of course, International Day of Yoga. So good to be a little more zen.
Especially now we know that anger, or even remembering something unpleasant that made us angry, increases the risk of stroke or heart attack for up to 40 minutes. That's from the American Heart Association, who put it down to anger impairing blood vessel function.
Yeah, so the research looked at the impact, say, stress or sadness had on blood vessels. And you know what? The only negative impact came from anger, which I think is really interesting. And time for us all to take a chill pill then.
Do you know, I don't know about you, Jack, but I have a face that keeps no secrets. So,
really?
If I'm cross, people know.
Well, Jo, some of us are good at keeping the same calm expression all the time. But for those of us who can't, well, wouldn't it be nice if there was an app that did all of that for us? You just logged on and you had your great expression. Well, until that happens, here's makeup artist Clint Dowdell with the next best thing.
Look, we are all guilty of using a filter on social media, let's face it. But it's time to ditch the phones because we have, with a little bit of help, a foundation that's going to make you look filtered without it. Nude by Nature's Perfect Skin Filter Foundation is a full coverage, 100% natural oil-free foundation. It's formulated with natural botanical Echioseb. Now that's actually proven to minimize the appearance of pores and control excess oil. That means it's perfect for all skin types, but in particular those people who have an oily or combination skin. It's also enriched by mineral pigments, plus skin-loving, hydrating ingredients. That means it's going to deliver the ultimate satin matte finish. Now, my top tip always as a makeup artist is to apply your foundation with a brush. I find it a little bit more hygienic, but it just gives you that professional look. So the Nude by Nature buffing brush is absolutely perfect for the Perfect Skin Filter Foundation because it gently blends the foundation while building to the coverage you're looking for. I absolutely love it. So I'm super excited to introduce Snej. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Excellent. We are going to create this gorgeous look. How's your skin feel?
Feels incredible. It feels really lightweight, but I still have that incredible coverage without that heavy feeling.
You look absolutely amazing. We're going to show you how to get this beautiful, flawless looking skin using the Perfect Skin Filter Foundation. Are you ready?
Let's go.
We're going to use the Silky Beige on Snez because it's got that beautiful sort of warm tone to it. When you are applying it, all you do is twist the bottle and then we're going to use we're going to try 2 pumps to start with. Softly taking up the product onto the brush, we are going to blend it in and look how smooth and easy that's going into the skin. I can't believe with a natural foundation we've got this much coverage. Do you use a brush or fingers to apply? A sponge?
You're going to be fingers. I know, but that feels so amazing. That feels incredible, that brush, so.
When you use a flat buffing brush, this just blends it in easily, seamlessly, professional finish so quickly. This is just the foundation on its own. Look how amazing you look. Would you like to see?
I would. I'd love to see. Oh my God. I cannot believe that that's full coverage because it just doesn't feel, it feels so light on my face. It doesn't feel like I've got a full coverage.
And there you have it. Now you know how to get this amazing perfect skin filtered effect using no filter at all. How's it feel?
Feels incredible.
Oh, I'm so excited.
If you're taking prescribed medications, follow up with your GP or pharmacist if you're thinking about taking herbal remedies too. Generally, they are safe, but there are some cases where it can cause an interaction. For example, St. John's wort can speed up the breakdown of a medication, decreasing the levels of the drug in the body, making it less effective. Pain is an individual thing, and herbal remedies can be used as an alternative treatment option. But have a chat with your pharmacist to make sure that there's no herb-drug interactions. But at the end of the day, if it works for you and it's safe, you get the green light from us. I take an iron supplement and in the colder months, a vitamin D supplement, as recommended by my GP, based on the low levels in my body. I do get regular blood tests to make sure that I'm taking the right dose and increase or decrease the dose as required. There are other supplements that I take when I need them. If I'm feeling run down or tired, a vitamin B supplement, particularly vitamin B12, really help boost my energy levels, or a general multivitamin for overall health. It really depends on the vitamin. There are water-soluble vitamins like vitamin B that can work almost immediately. And then there are fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin D, which can take a while for it to build up in the body. There are also so many variables to consider: your current or baseline vitamin levels, your diet, any underlying health issues, and what form you're taking it in, tablet versus liquid. Generally speaking, it can take 1 to 3 months to correct a vitamin deficiency.
We are passionate about gut health here on the House of Wellness because, Dr. Nick, everything good starts from there.
Well, we talk a lot about gut health, Jo, and I think by now pretty much everyone knows that the microbiome can affect the health of all our organs and our mental health and overall well-being. Well, now a group of Queensland researchers are looking at how our gut health might help fight Parkinson's disease.
Dr. Nick, is there a chance that this could slow or even stop the progress of the disease?
Well, that's the plan, Jo, because we now have evidence that gut health is as important for the development of Parkinson's as the brain. And the really great news is that the US have partnered with the Queensland researchers. They've given them $4 million over 4 years from, would you believe it, the US Department of Defence to help find this treatment.
Isn't that wonderful?
Amazing.
Well, a favourite winter food, which is definitely good for the gut, is mushrooms, and Zoe has them wrapped up in an empanada.
Spanish cuisine is such a delight for the senses. Paella, tapas, so many bold flavours and fresh ingredients. And my aromatic mushroom empanadas are no exception. Preheat the oven to 180 degrees and heat oil in a frying pan to kickstart the stir fry. Garlic, ginger, red chilli. This cooking style keeps ingredients crisp yet tender, but releases all their divine flavours. There's richness here, but I'm taking it to the next level. Rendang curry paste and kaffir lime leaves deliver more complex spice and zest. Keep tossing so all the aromas blend in together. And button mushrooms are primed to soak up all the seasonings. Their taste might be mild, but mushrooms make up for it in the health space as one of the few food sources of vitamin D. Simmer for 15 minutes until the mushrooms are tender and the liquids absorb. Popping aside to cool, it's now time for the pastry. Mountain bread acts as a healthy alternative. Cut in half, add the mushroom mix, fold into a triangle and brush with egg wash, then seal. Egg yolk gives the empanadas their golden glow, and 5 to 10 minutes in the oven will do the trick. There's a texture clash happening here that I just can't get enough of. The crunchy outer shell and that soft, punchy feeling, delicious. Thank you to our Spanish friends. Get Nourished is brought to you by Swiss Wellness. Support bone mineralisation with Swiss UltiBoost Vitamin D.
There are 3 things certain in life: death, taxes, and
poo. But many struggle with the latter, with 63.6% of Aussie adults suffering from constipation in any 3-month period. Constipation is defined as infrequent bowel motions and the experience of hard or dry stools that require strain or pain to pass. Those that have it find themselves sitting on the toilet for longer than usual but less often, and may feel abdominal bloating or cramping as a result. Unbelievably, 24% of adults have had symptoms for over 6 months. As with many areas of health, lifestyle choices can trigger constipation. A change in routine, lack of exercise, a low-fibre diet, insufficient water, and medications like antibiotics may all cause constipation. Treatment depends on the cause, but can involve increasing fluids, dietary changes, exercise, and supplementation. As the name suggests, Carusos Constipation Ease has been developed to help Australians relieve constipation. The formula contains a combination of ingredients used in traditional Western herbal medicine. Cascara, helping to act as a stimulating laxative, fennel, supporting healthy digestion and assisting in relieving wind and abdominal bloating. And finally, Yellow Dock, traditionally used in Western herbal medicine to help increase bowel evacuation and improve bowel regularity. Also included is resistant starch in the form of green banana powder, working as a prebiotic fibre. We all poo, and it shouldn't be difficult. Thankfully, a few small changes are all it takes to help keep the toilet a place of peace, quiet, and relief.
I swear we will not rest until we all can speak animal fluently. So far on this show, we have deciphered communicating with cats, dogs, chickens, turtles, and now it's the sperm whale that scientists are tuning into.
That's right, Joe. A US-based research team have been monitoring a pod of sperm whales off the coast of the Caribbean, and amazingly, they've recorded more than 9,000 coders, which are short clicks that whales use to communicate.
Yeah, and the research team believe that they've now decoded the first ever phonetic alphabet of an animal species. And while they say they don't yet know what the whales are actually saying, they reckon it won't be too long. I reckon we know what they're saying, don't we, Das? It's, where's the krill? I found the krill! There's krill!
I love this. So it's basically a word processor that the whales use, kind of like ChatGPT, that organises patterns in the sounds. And they say that whales have a really complex communication system. It's structured just like us humans.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Love to know what the whales are actually up to. On that note, that's all we've got time for today on the House of Wellness. Thanks to Dr. Nick Carr, to Jacqui Felgate and to Joe Stanley.
Make sure you check out House of Wellness Radio every Sunday with Luke Hines and Gerald Quigley.
And you can pick up a copy of the latest wellness magazine with Delta Goodrum on the cover.
Thanks to our great friends at Chemist Warehouse. It's bye for now.